All right, let's dive right in. We're living in this time of massive, overwhelming challenges, right? And it can feel like they're just too big for any one of us to solve. But what if the problem isn't just the problems themselves, but the way we've been taught to think about them? Today, we're going to explore a huge shift in thinking, a great realignment away from a broken, fragmented worldview towards something called planetary stewardship. It's a question I think we all ask ourselves. We can see the issues plain as day, the climate, the political gridlock, the social divisions, but the solutions just seem completely stuck. It feels like we're all just spinning our wheels, getting nowhere fast. So what's really going on here? Well, the heart of the problem, it turns out, is how we think. We've been trained in what's called disciplinary thinking. Basically, we take every big problem and slice it into tiny, manageable pieces. You've got economics over here, ecology over there, and politics in its own little box. But this creates silos. It makes us, as one source says, blind to the whole. And this leads to what's called a collective action trap, where everyone's afraid to make the first move because it might put them at a disadvantage. To get out of this trap, we need what Einstein called a substantially new way of thinking. And that's exactly what we're talking about. What's so exciting is that we're seeing these powerful new, and in some cases, very ancient frameworks emerge that all point in the exact same direction. So let's look at two incredible visions that are showing us a way forward. First up, there's something called spheral thinking. Now, this is basically a scientific model for seeing all of society not as a bunch of separate parts, but as one single integrated system. It looks at these core spheres of human life, the social, economic, political, informational, and studies how they all dance together. It's a way to piece all our fragmented knowledge back into a unified whole. Okay, so this model might look a little complicated, but that's kind of the point. Our world is complex. This is called fractal coupling, and it shows us how all those different spheres are woven together at every single level, from your local community all the way up to the entire planet. What it's really telling us is that you can't just change one thing, like the economy, without it rippling out and affecting everything else. The big takeaway here? Synergy is the key to a thriving civilization, not isolation. And the second vision comes from a deep, fundamental principle we see everywhere in nature: coherence. I mean, think about it. From the way atoms create molecules to how your own brain cells fire together, complex systems don't rely on force to hold themselves together. They rely on alignment. Coherence is that invisible pattern that connects and sustains pretty much all of life. And this is the crucial part. Spheral thinking and coherence, they're not competing ideas at all. They're more like two different languages trying to describe the exact same essential truth. One is like a sociological blueprint, the other is a law of nature. And both of them are screaming the same thing. We are all part of one deeply interconnected whole. So that brings us to a really important question. If we're all part of this interconnected whole, what in the world does that mean for how we lead? This new way of thinking requires a completely different kind of leadership. And this quote, wow, it just nails the shift perfectly. Authority is not domination. It is responsibility for coherence. It completely reframes what it means to be in charge. It's not about having power over other people. It's about taking responsibility for the health and the alignment of the whole system. It's a fundamental shift from domination to care. Let's break that down a bit. The old model is command and control, right? It treats an organization like a machine. You pull levers, you direct behavior, you force an outcome. The new model, field stewardship, treats the organization like a living ecosystem, like a garden. A leader doesn't control every single plant. They steward the conditions, the soil, the water, the sunlight, so that beautiful things can emerge all on their own. So how do you actually do that? Well, field stewardship is all about focusing on 4 types of coherence. First, you make sure there's a clear purpose, so everyone's pulling in the same direction. Second, you have transparent communication, so information flows like water. Third, you align incentives so that what's good for the individual is also good for the group. And finally, you create feedback loops so the whole system can learn and adapt. The leader becomes less of a controller and more of a conductor. Okay, so we've got a new way of thinking and a new model for leadership. But how do we actually put this stuff into practice? Now we're going to look at some amazing practical tools for co-creation, real-world blueprints that are coming from all sorts of different cultures and wisdom traditions. This wheel is such a great way to visualize this new toolkit. It shows us how all the different parts of our society, Governance, science, education, the arts are all just interconnected slices of the same pie. And the goal is to apply conscious, collaborative action to the entire wheel, not just our own little slice.
This is known as the co-creation wheel. And really, it's a framework for getting us out of our silos. So instead of, say, experts in education only talking to other educators, this wheel brings them into conversation with artists and scientists and community leaders to come up with holistic solutions that no single group could ever see on their own. It's all about collective intelligence.
Next up, we have the profound African philosophy of Ubuntu. You've probably heard the translation, I am because we are. This is a worldview that puts our shared humanity and the sacredness of our relationships right at the center of everything. It's such a powerful antidote to the hyper-individualism that causes so much of our modern fragmentation. And a third incredible tool is called spiral dynamics. Think of it as a map for understanding how human values and worldviews evolve over time. For instance, a worldview centered on pure survival is very different from one focused on scientific achievement or one focused on a global community. By understanding these different value systems, this framework helps us build bridges and actually communicate with each other instead of just talking past each other. And you know what's so amazing? These three tools, from modern science, ancient Africa, and developmental psychology, they are all congruent. They are all pointing us toward the same vision of a more collaborative humanity. So we have the new thinking. We have the new leadership model. We have the tools. But what does all of this mean for you, for me personally? This is where it all comes home. This is the invitation. This image just captures the ultimate goal so perfectly. It's about a fundamental shift in our own identity. We're being invited to see ourselves as more than just individuals or members of a family or even citizens of a nation, but as planetary citizens with a shared responsibility for this living Earth. And let's be really clear about this. This has nothing to do with your passport. Planetary citizenship is not some political status. It is a conscious choice. It's an expansion of our own identity, a deep recognition that our personal well-being is completely inseparable from the well-being of the entire web of life. It's about choosing to live from that place of interdependence. And that brings us to the most important point of all. This new Earth, this more coherent, thriving world, it's not some far-off place we just wait for. It's something we are actively building right now with every choice we make. It's something we practice into existence. So the real question this whole explainer leaves us with is this: how will you participate?